Hello, Deborah D here from Pursuing Parenthood, and it's nice to be back. I am here with a birthday message. It's my birthday, and I wanted to share kind of some observations that I've made. I know at our birthday, it's kind of like New Year's where you reflect on the past, you look back and kind of see what you've accomplished or where you're at in your life, or look forward where you want to go, that kind of thing. And as I was doing that, I was realizing it's a very different experience when we reflect from our head, from our, okay, I accomplished this, or I did this, or I said I was going to do this, and I'm still working on this. When we're pursuing parenthood and when we're stepping into our dream, whatever that might be, there are a number of tasks and goals and actions that we can take. But in this process of what I was doing, and what I realized is that it's a completely different experience when we reflect from a place in our heart. So when we reflect on the experience we had over the last year, when we reflect on the feelings that we had over the last year versus dates and times that something happened. So kind of just sit in that place for a moment and reflect back on your year, even though we're using my birthday as the example here, the beginning of March. Just when you reflect back on, let's say, the last 3 months or 6 months or year, what's the feeling that you've been experiencing? And is that the feeling that you want to carry into the future? So if you've been carrying a feeling of heaviness, of sadness, just recognize that and look at how that's impacted relationships, maybe work, other parts of your life, and how that continued feeling or experience will impact going forward. So one of the things that keeps us stuck in a certain experience or a certain feeling is judgment. And judgment is like a big, thick, heavy blanket that kind of constricts us. And that can be judgment of ourselves. Oh, I didn't accomplish what I wanted. Oh, I wasn't successful this month. What's wrong with me? Why aren't my numbers the way they're supposed to be? When's this ever going to happen? And it's this big judgment that we hold on ourselves. Sometimes it's a judgment of other people out here, that it's a judgment of, why don't they support me more? What's wrong with them? Why is life like this? Why are they overweight? Why do they look this way? They have tons of money and resources. Why do they drive that vehicle? So we live in a very judgmental society globally. And so as individuals, we want to be able to recognize that, how that impacts us, and how we're projecting that out into the future. And so one of the tips that I really want to encourage you as I go on this journey, as I continue to birth the new business, is around releasing judgment and just going into every meeting, every conversation, every appointment, asking the question of, how do I leave this person or this situation or this conversation better for me having been there? So what gift can I give to the conversation? And it's interesting that once you go into that and you start from that place of releasing the judgment and just being the gift and kind of open to what that could look like, things really do start to change. And even an example this week is, I knew I was going into a difficult conversation with the staff, but I just kind of went in with the intention of, let's assume the best, that it was just an accident, a misunderstanding, as opposed to passive aggressive insubordination to assignment kind of thing. And this really is, when I reflect on it, when you bring that into the conversation, it brings me back to a time when obviously I was pursuing parenthood, and I knew in my heart that this was the month it had happened. I'm pregnant. But there was this nurse that I regularly dealt with on my daily trips over to the clinic who just wasn't happy. She was not in a happy mood, and I don't know her life. I don't know what she brought into the conversation or into every meeting, it seemed. But I just thought, you know what? You can't take this positive energy experience away from me because I just know. And it completely changed the trajectory of that morning. That every other morning, it was very sterile. I was just a file. It wasn't personal. It was, we said good morning because we kind of had to, but it wasn't a real compassionate experience. And on this journey, whenever you find someone or an organization or a clinic who can go on this journey compassionately with you, you want to meld with them, stay with them. They're your tribe. So anyways, on this experience, I just knew in my heart, this was, I'm doing the follow-up blood work just to see where different blood levels are at. And she was like, good morning. I'm like, good morning. And you could not ask me why I was in that mood. And so she did. And I said, you know what? I think this is it. And she was like, well, you know the statistics. And she went into the statistics and into her spiel about being realistic. And yet, realism is important. But about 8 hours later, she was the one doing the phone call to say, wow, Deborah, congratulations, you're pregnant. And so I really just want to, as I reflected back on the year and the feelings that I've had versus just the actions that I've taken, and I look into the future where I'm going and what that could look like, it just reminds me really to release the judgment and to know that every time I go into a conversation, a meeting, an appointment, that if my goal and intent is, yes, to get information, but to leave them with a feeling of increase, to leave me with a feeling of compassion, that the outcome can be so different. So I'm very excited to know what my next year can bring. Thank you for being part of my conversation here, for being part of my tribe, but also for, today you're with me on my birthday, a special day for me. Whatever you're birthing, I know in my heart that it is possible. Remember that impossible really is just, if we split it up, I'm possible. Whatever your dreams are, whatever your heart desires, it is possible. Yes, there will be speed bumps on this journey to pursuing parenthood, pursuing your dreams, but always believe in you and always be aware of who your tribe is, the energy of kind of who's supporting you. And if you're looking for an extra person on that journey, be sure to connect. So happy birthday to all of us. Happy birthday for whatever you're birthing this year, this week, this day. Have a good one.